I am naturally negative. I was raised by a depression baby. Why would I not be scared? The only reason a human being wouldn't be scared is because they're not doing anything new.
Grant Cardone, CEO of Cardone Capital, from building a multi-billion-dollar real estate empire to teaching millions how to sell, how to scale businesses.
I didn't come for money. I didn't have connections. And unfortunately, I did not spend the first 50 years of my life getting connected. My dad died when I was 10, and everything changed. Drifted into a drug problem when I was 15, overdosed 3 times, and I should not be where I'm at today. The biggest hack on this planet is to change the network you hang with. And the fastest way to change the network is to write a check.
I love that, and I keep buying my way in.
And I really, really appreciate you supporting us on the Grant Cardone Foundation. If you're in transition right now, it's not too late. I was 51 years old, the economy had collapsed, and I was like, what did I do wrong? What I had done wrong was...
Seriously, Grant, the 10X movement is not just a slogan, it's your way of life.
Yeah, and it's actually, I wrote a book in 2012, maybe called The 10X Rule, and that thing really hit. It wasn't my first book, and it was a very significant book for me because I was 51 years old at the time, and I had plateaued in my career. I was in transition. My industry was in transition. 2008 came, economic collapse had lasted way longer than anybody wanted it to. And it really drained me of resources, energy, focus. And I found myself almost in this you used the word earlier, late stage career. I was in like this crisis. And you're 50 years old and you're like, hey, I'm running out of time. I'm running out of energy. I've already worked for 30 years. I don't want to do this again. Like, I'm going through my money. I'm burning through resources. A lot of people are going through the same cycle right now.
Oh, totally.
And so I had to kind of reboot. I didn't come for money, and I didn't have connections. And unfortunately, I did not spend the first 50 years of my life getting connected. So I grew up in Louisiana.
Yeah, let's go there for a second because your story is phenomenal and you weren't born to wealth. And I want to make sure everybody understands that. Let's take back in time to the kid in Louisiana.
I mean, look, I grew up where there was, we had air condition and heater, and we had 3 bedrooms, a 3-bedroom house for 5 kids, mom and dad. My dad died when I was 10. And everything changed. Like the whole world got flipped upside down.
Take us there for a second, because you talk a lot about that also in Undercover Billionaire. Take us a little bit, like that was a pivotal moment for you, for your mom, for your family.
Yeah, because if you're a parent, kids are always watching and they're always learning. And for me, I was learning throughout the most traumatic moment of a kid's life, which is the loss of a dad or a parent. And I'm also watching my mom, which I'm very connected to spiritually. I'm watching her go from what should have been grief to fear. I could see it on her face. I don't need a class in fear to know what it looks like. Like, I'm like, shit, she's scared. I didn't know what she was scared of, but then I kept hearing the money theme. Got to sell the house, got to sell the cars, got to downscale, got to move us, got to get closer to the schools. Like when a human being should be in fear, right? Now, I'd also heard 10 years of how we were doing well and how my dad had got us into the middle class and he'd finally bought his dream home. And boom, next day, all that's unwinding. So unbeknownst to me, I'm learning. I'm becoming who I am today. Right.
And you're only 10. I mean, you're at that point, you're 10 years old. That is traumatic. What?
But I'm learning about money. This is all personal finance 101 and a grief class all combined. Like all these 2 messages are coming. You lost your dad and you lost, your mom's scared. And so this conflict comes into like sell everything. I learned a house was not an asset. The house was paid for, by the way, so it should be an asset based on what we're told. But
what? No, it's not.
My dad's savings got sucked out of savings. The life insurance got sold. The stocks in the market that were paying a slight dividend every quarter. All these things start becoming pieces of data for me to later use in my life. So all I'm telling your audience is, look, I We have $5 billion worth of real estate under management. I've never taken any money from a major bank. We have, I don't know, I've raised $1.6 billion over the internet without advertisers, promoters, or middleman. I've sold $2 billion worth of products. Some people say I'm a grifter because I'm selling products on the internet. Educational products, by the way, because I don't believe the education system is good for us anymore, for the most part. Not completely, but for the most part. And I did all this without connections and without a great education and without any money, no credit, no debt. And without being, I didn't code anything like the geniuses in Silicon Valley. So anyway.
So take us there. So, because again, you've been in this trauma and we'll fast forward in a second, but I think it's important. You've been in this trauma age, I think 15 to 25, you were still kind of lost, right? Like it was still kind of some hard moments for you. What was it like, Grant?
Yeah, drifted into a drug problem when I was 15. I start drugs at 15, 16 years old, smoking weed. And the next thing you know, I'm doing pills. And then I'm, everything, dude, like any drug that was available. The next thing you know, for the next 10 years of my life, I'm a middle-class kid that falls right off the charts. Overdosed 3 times, spent, have 70 stitches put in my head and face from a guy that came in and beat me up. It was terrible. It's awful. My family almost lost me. I lost 3 friends. Nasty. I should not have been there, and I should not be where I'm at today. So
what changed? What changed? Dude, how did you decide to take control of your life? What changed?
Because I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, as the saying goes, right? It wasn't when I hit bottom, because there's many bottoms, You think the bottom is where you are right now, but there's another bottom. Trust me. There's always another bottom of degrade, and then there's death. And I just escaped right before death. My mom basically intervened and said, "Look, I'm done with you." She basically broke the agreement, this little agreement that we had, this little game that we played back and forth, that she would take care of me. And she basically gave me the middle finger and said, "I'm done." And 25 hours later, I was in a treatment center in Minnesota. And for the first time in my life, I put 28 days together without using drugs. And that was the reboot of my life.
Wow. That's incredible. And again, I want people to hear this, because people are right now going through really tough times. There have been layoffs. There's been people are going through a lot. California had this fires. This is there's a lot of crap going on in the world right now. And there's a lot of suffering. So I want them to hear that you can control your life, that you can decide that you want massive success no matter what. And you're a hustler. Grant, I think of myself as somebody that is hardworking, and I can outbeat almost anyone, but you put a shame on me. So you outwork me any day.
Yeah.
And I think it's part of it.
You think about that in relationship to me, and I think about me in relation to Donald Trump and Elon Musk. So I get shameful because thinking about how hard those 2 guys work, because I know they're maniacs. Yeah. So look.
So tell us, what shifted, and suddenly you learned that you love sales, and you take that as a gift.
Look, I've never loved sales. I still don't love sales today. So a lot of people say, "Oh, you love selling. You're a great salesman." I'm like, I hate fucking sales. Okay. I hate sales, but I do like hitting my targets.
Okay.
So I am very target driven. It's why I hated college so much, is because the targets were too long. It took too long to get there. I hated school because I'm like, I got to be here 17 years or 12 years to get anything done, or 3 years or a whole semester or whatever. I would rather, I could do anything over short periods of time. And then my interest in the work or the effort of the target goes up. And the bigger the target is, as long as I'm trained or educated to believe that I can actually hit the target, if I actually believe it's attainable in a short period of time, I'll do almost anything. And so that's what changed for me. I was in a sales job. I was 25 years old, and the only people that were hiring me was a sales company. And I had to take it. I didn't have a choice. Right. It was the only job I could get, and I had ruined my reputation where I lived. So I took, because I had 10 years.
Because of the drugs. Yeah.
10 years of drugs. Okay. That will wipe out your reputation. And my reputation was even ruined with me. So I had to rebuild that, and I had to learn how to be a salesman. I didn't want to be a salesman, but they offered the job. It wouldn't have mattered. It could have been carrying urine. It could have been digging a ditch. It could have been whoever would have given me an opportunity, I would have gotten great at it. No, not taking it. I would have gotten great at it because I no longer had any choices, and I knew I couldn't make excuses anymore. And then I no longer had the privilege of saying, I don't like this job. And what happened was a flip switched, because I now made a decision to get good at something. The next thing you know, in a very short period of time, I'm talking about 72 hours. Not only did I get good at it, I started enjoying it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That to me is incredible. Like, that shift is absolutely incredible. And I think you took it to a whole different level. By the way, one of your books, Sell and Be Sold, I think it's just like, it's just so incredible, because you're trying, every conversation, there's like two frames, right? You're either, selling, or somebody's selling you their crap, right? Like, it's like one of them is happening. But you also, you built the 10X brand and the 10X rule to a global movement way before anybody understood branding. I think most people didn't really understand what it took. And you were just like, you saw it. You saw the future. And, we're going to tie it to what you see now. But you saw that future.
Not really. I didn't really see a future, really. I mean, I appreciate that I would be some kind of like clairvoyant, but it wasn't that. It was just everything that's happened for me has come out of a problem. Everything that has happened to me in my life, at some point in my life, it was a problem first. The sales game, it was a problem. I wrote Sell or Be Sold. It took 3 hours to write that book, but it took 26 years to write it, to decide to write it.
Right.
Once I decided to write it, it took 3 hours. And so it was this 26 years I spent studying this one little sector. Every day, hours a day, after hating it, by the way, after hating this thing called sales, studied it, and then it became a business for me. I would end up being known as one of the top 3 sales consultants in the world, blah, 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 with the names of like Brian Tracy and some of these freaking icon guys that I used to study. So the 10X rule was born out of another book, was born out of the 2008 global collapse. After working for 27 years or 26 years, whatever the number was, I was 51 years old. The economy had collapsed, and I was like, what did I do wrong? I spent some time looking at it. What I had done wrong was I did not have 10 verticals to work in. I had one vertical. The vertical got cut in half. I had not scaled. I sat down and wrote a book, the 10X rule. I basically figured this formula out. Had I done 10X, I would have gotten cut, but I wouldn't have failed. I would have actually punched through a crisis and benefited from it. Instead, my family suffered from it. And I wrote the book called the 10X rule. That book took me 3 weeks to write. I didn't think much of it, put it out. It was my 6th or 7th book that I wrote, put it out, told my wife I finished the book. What do you think? I said, it's all right. Boom, book took off, went crazy. And then out of that was born the 10X movement, which is all these 10X events. And it was really an accident, just so you know, to know the truth. It was an accident. The 10X rule I stumbled across. Now, the branding of who I am, that was very, very much planned, including my wife came from an audition one day, Okay.
And by the way, for those who don't know, that's Ilana.
Yeah.
And okay, tell
She
us.
comes back from an audition. She's in Hollywood. She comes back from an audition. She's like, "Oh my God, their job's terrible." And she's crying. I'm like, "Babe, what's happening?" She's like, "This audition went terrible." And the same time, I was invited to go on some TV show, and I drive, I don't know, 45 minutes to the interview. The interview was like 45 seconds long. I'm driving home 45 minutes, pissed off out of my mind. Like, you have no idea how angry I am. I feel like an idiot. I'm like, I just drove an hour and a half to answer a bullshit question for 45 seconds. These people act like they're doing me a favor. I think it was Fox News or something. Same day my wife got rejected, I came home and I said, this will never happen to us again. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I am going to make sure everyone knows our name.
Wow.
And that was really the start of the branding. I said, I am never going to be humiliated like this. You don't deserve to be humiliated like this. And we're going to build our own audience. And, now there's about, I don't know, between us, about 20 million followers online.
Oh yeah, for sure. Wait, yeah. What age was that when you decided that?
We started that at 50. Let me see. It's 2010. So 52 years old.
Incredible. And I think this is so important, Grant, because a lot of our audience, if they're somewhere around that age, they feel like life is over. Did I miss the boat? Like, am I done? Right. And for them, it's like, I mean, I literally just had somebody on LinkedIn that said, hey, I saw your episode with Gary Vee and it gave me, and I decided not to end my life today. And I was like, that sucks. Like, people are suffering right now. So what made that switch of, I'm not going to give up on this. I'm not just going to look for another, something more, one more thing to just this, but I'm going to create this portfolio career and I'm going to make sure my brand is known. And I'm going to, what made that shift and what happened then?
Well, because of that moment, that loss, like, I'm like, why I was doing pretty well in my life, but nobody knew me. Right. And this was after the collapse. I'm like, nobody knows me, but I expect to do well. How can I do well if nobody knows me? I remember my dad saying at 8 years old, 2 years before he died, he says, look, the most important thing you have is your name. And what my dad didn't understand was the most important thing that you do is protect your name. And the second most important thing is make sure people know it.
Right.
Because if nobody knows your name, there's nothing to protect. Now, everybody in my dad's little town knew him, but he couldn't go anywhere outside his little town and be known.
Right.
I can't go anywhere in the world. We flew to Malta one night. We were in London. My daughter comes to me and says, Papa, I don't want to go home. I'm loving this trip. We're having fun. We're traveling around the world. And she's like, I don't want to go home yet. And I'm like, where you want to go? She's like, I don't know. I said, get a map. Let's find a place to go tonight. It was like, I don't know, 8:00 at night. We were in London. I said, close your eyes and pick. Boom. She picks the map. Malta. Malta's just south of Italy. It used to be an Air Force base back in the World War II. And I said, let's go to Malta. So I called the pilot. We had our own plane at the time. And I said, we're going to Malta tonight. No, we don't know anybody in Malta. I've never been to Malta. I didn't know where Malta was. Okay. And we land in Malta 2.5, 3 hours later. There's people at the airport. Because I posted, I'm coming to Malta.
You're kidding. Wow.
And there's people at the airport at 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm just saying that because it's cool, because if people know you, they can help you. If people know you, they can feed you. If people know you, they can find you. We ended up in a hotel that night. I hadn't told this story, I don't think ever. We ended up in a hotel that night. We hated, it was a last minute booking. We hated the hotel. I called the people that I met at the airport and said, can you help me? And boom, they got me in a different hotel. So, the value of being known is so important. and I'm sure Vaynerchuk talked about this, the value of being a brand trusted,
right,
that people value or think enough of you that they would stop what they're doing and go to the airport and say hi to you.
right. That's incredible. And I'll say another thing, Grant, and I think it's so important for our audience. A lot of them are giving 1,000% to the workplace, and which is really important to be loyal. And I do believe in this, but you can't have all your identity attached to one title, one company. Like you need to have your own brand to stand on its own, because the minute they lay you off, you're a nobody. And I think this is just something that, sometimes we just don't understand, that we also want to build our own brand and that safety net for ourselves.
Well, let me just say that if anybody lays you off and they stay in business, you weren't that valuable. So all you guys that are getting, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people, by the way, that get laid off right now because of Doge. If you guys get laid off and somebody else doesn't pick you up, it's because you're not valuable. End of story. Okay. The last job that I ever lost, I was 29 years old. No, the first job, 29. Then there's another job I lose after that. I lose this job. The company literally goes bankrupt 10 months later. That's how valuable I was to that company. And I think that that's what an employee should do. You should be so valuable to the company. They're dependent upon you. You're not dependent upon them. I left that company at 29, went to work for another guy. In 15 months, I am producing more revenue for that next company than the company produced. Like, the position for an employee to be in is you should be so productive that the company is dependent upon you. And I posted on X yesterday, hey, I'm hiring federal government employees. We're offering free training and education to all government employees. The first thing I want to teach you is how to work again. Second thing, how to sell, do your own startup, grow and scale your business. I'm going to teach you those things for free, by the way.
Wow.
Not charge the government anything. No taxpayers involved. If you guys want, come register for this free event. You're a government employee, except we will not allow anyone from the IRS.
I love that. And we literally just published that we're going to help some of them find a job for free for a little bit. But okay, so
but a lot of those people are going to need to be re-educated.
I agree.
Because they got a bunch of bad habits. They basically been on government dole. Nobody was paying attention. Nobody's holding them accountable, responsible. Nobody's checking on their work ethic or their productivity or their ability to hit targets. And it's a problem. Okay?
It's true for everything. I mean, the comfort zone is a very dangerous place for all companies. I agree.
Exactly.
So tell me, how did you get into real estate, and when was that, based on that 51 boundary, right?
Look, I was making decent money when I was 31 years old. I left the second company that I told you about earlier that I was making more money for. I was stacking money away. And then what I would do on the weekends is I would look at real estate. I've always been interested in real estate. And I remember my dad was a stockbroker, and he used to drive around and look at real estate when I was like 6 years old. I'm like, oh, this must be valuable. Little kids do all these crazy things. Right. And I'm in the back seat of that car thinking, one day I'm gonna own some real estate. One day I'm gonna drive a car. One day I'm gonna be able to pay for the ice cream. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to own a company. I never thought about being a boss. I have never, ever had the idea that I was going to own companies, be a CEO, none of it. But I always wanted to own real estate. And so at that consulting job, I was starting to stack up some dough. I had about 300 grand. And I'm like, I got to do something with this money. And I would shop real estate on the weekends. And I bought a 48 unit deal in Vista, California, put 300 grand down. I had to borrow another $50,000 and get a loan. I didn't know how to do any of this. And that was my first, $5 billion of real estate ago.
Incredible. So, Grant, but take me there for a second, because
Yeah.
one of the things that we're seeing with a lot of people is that fear of money, or fear of taking a loan, or fear of, doing something that you don't really know. Um, how were you not afraid, especially
I
because you
was. I was
came?
afraid.
Okay.
I was
Tell
afraid.
me more.
I'm always afraid.
And you still build empires. So tell me,
Dude, look,
like,
I'm
how
I'm
you.
afraid. I'm afraid. Just so everybody knows, I'm afraid most of the time. I'm tired most of the time. Um, I'm lost most of the time. But there's certain things I just hold on to that I know are going to be all right. That are going to get me through. But I'm always scared. I always doubt. I never think it's going to work out well. I'm not a positive person. And I'm not overly confident, by the way, even though I appear confident to people. I know I appear even arrogant
You do.
to people. Oh, like, oh, he think, dude, I have to do that to protect myself. I have to act like it's gonna like but that doesn't mean that's what's going on inside of me, right?
Right.
Nobody knows what's going on inside of me except me, including my wife and kids.
So you somehow know how to push it out, and
I don't think fear is going away.
right.
So I tried to medicate it; it didn't go away.
Right.
I tried to get, you know, I've tried to make self-esteem issues better with cars. It doesn't go away. Like, it is what it is, man. I'm not trying to get away. I'm not trying to get rid of anything. I am what I am. I am who I am, and I got to be all right with it. And the fact that I'm scared, um, doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Walk me through this for a second, Grant. So many of my people listening to this have to hear this, and honestly, I need to hear this. So walk me through this for a second. So you are taking a loan on money you don't necessarily know where it's going to come from. You know that you could be broke because you've seen your mom, right?
Yeah.
So it's not something that is unknown to you.
Yeah.
What makes you still go for it? And now you just do the same, Grant, but you just do it on bigger sums of money that are just like mind blowing. So take me back, like take me to your thought process, because again, the biggest thing holding people back is this.
Yeah. So, what happens is, it's a good question, by the way. I don't think I've ever formulated what happens. But number one, I think what happens is I am naturally negative. And I think people think I'm this positive guy. I mean, yeah, I can have positive responses, but it doesn't mean that I'm I was raised by a depression baby. And so my mother grew up in breadlines. There's a book called it's called it's an economics book on investing regarding how you
I don't remember.
regarding how you were brought up. It's basically influence that your time period has on how you invest. I'll think of the name here in a second. And so I'm the product of a depression baby, right? So my whole life I was like, a depression's coming, a depression. Well, depression never came. So I always look at worst case scenario. I always go to worst case. And once I can accept, I'm always scared. So I'm 66 now. I know enough to know, hey, brother, if the fear was going to go away, it'd have gone away in your 30s. So the fear's here to stay. Don't try to get rid of it. In fact, it might be godly. Yeah, I know a lot of my buddies that have gone bankrupt. I know a lot of my buddies that are over their skis. I've never done that. I've never busted out, ever. And so maybe my fear is actually a gift. And number two, I look at worst case scenarios. And once I can calculate a worst case, and then I'm like, okay, worst case, I put all this money in the real estate. Let's say the economy goes to shit. The money was worth shit. The real estate will still be there. I don't have any debt on it. I can't lose it. Okay, it's going to be painful. Okay, fuck it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna take my kids. I'm gonna take my kids out of school, and I'm gonna homeschool them. Okay, what's the worst case scenario here? Worst case is you fuck them up, and they don't know how to do algebra. I can live with that. At least I fucked them up, and somebody else did. Okay, take them out of school. So I just get to a worst case scenario. All my calculations, every investment I ever make in my life, every single investment, I bring it to a worst case scenario. What's the worst thing that can happen? I refuse to lose my money, by the way, on investing. So that's not a worst case scenario because I am not losing money. So, yeah, so it's a short answer. It's a short answer connected with a whole bunch of little barriers I put around that thesis that I'm going to be scared. Why would I not be scared? The only reason a human being wouldn't be scared is because they're not doing anything new.
Right.
Because if you're doing something new, you are going to have some level of doubt.
Right. And so Grant, do you think, and actually, like when you talked about it, do you think that actually being the person that looks at the worst thing, is that making you a better investor actually? Because I think that, probably you're not as optimistic. So you're actually finding the actual holes in the deal.
I don't know. I don't know. In an up market and when everything goes right, my pessimism is going to cost me a lot of money. But when everything goes wrong, okay, my pessimism is going to save me from going broke.
Right.
But I don't think I have the potential because of my deficit of pessimism. I don't think I could ever be one of these $100 billion creators, investor guys. It limits my ability to go through this freaking to Mars because I am inherently believe something bad's going to happen.
I don't know. I think you kind of are in Mars with your multi-billion-dollar enterprises,
really. Not in comparison to the ecosystem. Right. In comparison to where I came from, I'm doing great, but in comparison to the potential of the ecosystem.
Right. So talk to me about, for a second, a hard moment. And how did you overcome it for a second? I wanna.
What hard moment you want to do? What like
in Cardone Capital or building this like multi-billion-dollar enterprise that you have. You have so many, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's 2010, and the bank calls and says, "Hey, you need to pay $58 million of loans. You need to pay them off right now."
Shit.
Yeah. And I didn't have $58 million. So I'm like, I don't have $58 million. I can't get a new loan. What do I do? I've never done this before. I've never had a bank call a loan. I'm not even late. Okay. I'm not late. I've never missed a payment. Foreclosures are popping up all around me. People walking away, giving keys back. I'm not doing anything. And they tell me, hey, you need to pay the loan off. I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? I'm not even late. Oh, yeah, but you're in technical default. I'm like, the whole world's in a technical default. So I didn't know how to do that. Terrifying, exhausting.
It sounds sleepless. Like, what do you do?
Not really. It wasn't sleepless, but it was, I didn't like, okay, what do I do? It's like terrifying, right? And we didn't have investors at that time, so that made it easier because now I don't have to worry about other people's money. That's a much greater responsibility. We have 18,200 investors now. At that time, it was just me. And so that's easier to deal with because now I only have to worry about me getting back into the boat. I don't have to worry about everybody on the boat, right? But yeah, dude. I mean, look, there's a lot of hard things in life. Most of them are not the hard things, by the way. They're not the most difficult things. They're the everyday things. It's
that
like,
throw you off.
huh?
The regular thing that throw you off, but it's continuous. Yeah.
Look, I would rather have a massive problem than like when the fires hit Malibu and my house almost burnt down. Like my family was like, "Wow, you don't even look bothered." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a big problem. Like there's nothing I could do about it." And sometimes little problems like, "What am I doing?" Or "Why am I doing this again?"
Right.
Okay, I can't. This won't move the bar any. Sometimes it's little nagging things actually that are bigger than the big problem.
Big one. Because the big ones, you're just going to focus all in and you're just going to solve it versus the nagging ones that you're just going to nag you.
Exactly. It's so big. It's so giant. It's so overwhelming. You got to hit it. You got to go at it. There's a target. There's a precise problem. Everything's identifiable, and sometimes life is not like that. You don't even know who the enemy is.
And it's incredible. And I've seen that you went to California, and I've seen your
Exactly
posts
what I was
around
thinking
it.
about when you said that. You're reading my mind.
Yeah, because I've seen it. I mean, it was devastating. I mean, I want to talk about it for a second, but I also want to talk about how.
Yeah, what I was talking about is when you talked about California, a much bigger problem was the going to California and seeing if I could do something about it.
Right.
As opposed to my house, right? When I went there, I spent 3 or 4 weeks there talking to the people in California about making a change in California. See, that to me is a much bigger, like, can I do this? Will they listen? What happens? I don't know how to do this. I don't know what the rules are. So those new things, walking into new things when you don't have to. Like, I don't have to do anything new anymore.
Right.
My life's pretty good. If I was only going to do something new to improve the quality of my life, or I guess the quality of my life, for lack of better words, I don't have to do anything.
Right.
But for me to have a quality of life, I actually have to do something new.
And I think that's, I don't know if it's your personality or whatever it is, or it's the legacy that you're leaving. Because again, you don't have to, the California thing, you also don't need to create a private equity fund. Grant, you have so many things. You have so many businesses. Like I can't even say all of them. What makes you then go and decide, okay, let me just raise a fund, which is insanity. And to make it even worse, let me try to figure out how do I do Bitcoin type fund. So talk to me about that process for a second.
Thank you for saying that, because like all these clickbaiters on YouTube will be like, Grant Cardone's raising money from the regular person, taking $5,000, grifting on regular people. My fee, I think we make $50, a $50 management fee when somebody puts $5,000 into Cardone Capital. By the way, that $5,000 will be invested in an asset that required me to write a check for probably $100 million.
Crazy.
So now if you multiply 18,000, we have 18,200 investors. If all of them gave me $5,000 and I made $50 on everybody,
it's not much.
So now the goal is to get that 5 billion, 10 billion, $20 billion, and then you make 1% on 20 billion, then I'm making a lot of money. I'll make generational money that'll last forever for my kids, my wife. It'll just like keep banging. It'll become a bank.
Yeah. The $50 is not what's going to get you there. That's $1 million if you have 20,000 people, right? So that's not it, right? You're doing this because...
Yeah, but if the fund gets big enough, right? Because there's going to be somebody's going to give me $500,000, $1 million. We've raised $1.6 billion. So 1% of $1.6 billion is $16 million a year. That's real money. But I still had the responsibility of the real estate, 15,000 tenants, debt, $2.2 billion worth of debt. Like So, God, there's a lot of damn problems. I'm not complaining, by the way. I'm the one that chose this. We're going to take that 5 billion, turn it into 10 billion. I'm going to take 10 billion, turn it into 20 billion. I'm going to keep growing the fund, and I'm going to keep having bigger problems.
Right.
So that's just.
But I mean, not only that you have bigger problems. First of all, yes, they're bigger and bigger and scarier. But you're also kind of babysitting now 18,000 people, right?
No, I mean, most of our investors are really, really super appreciative. Do we have people that have problems? Yeah, we have people that have all kind of problems. They need money, or I'm not even really that many, or they get a lawyer that says Grant Cardone's rich, sue him, see if you can get some money out of him. Of course, but look, that could happen in any of the businesses. There's seven businesses. It has happened in all of them, by the way. I've had employees sue me. I've had partners sue me. I have a guy right now acting like an idiot. We're going to crush him. I just finalized a defamation lawsuit for $100 million. It's confidential what the actual results were, but it was very, very good for me. And it was not very good for the other guy. Got a full apology, becomes a partner in a business. And I get it was an unbelievable day for me. It was a legacy. Like one of my 7 years from now, I'm going to talk about that settlement. Can't talk about it today. So, but it is what it is, man. Look, you just got to win. You got to win in life. You got to win more than you lose. And this is the unfortunate thing. Most of America right now is losing more often than they win. Or worse, they're not even in a game they can win, which is the bigger situation. And it's what's unfortunately the government's not telling anybody, that most people are simply playing a game. Even if you win,
you're not winning. Yeah.
They know there's no trophy here. And even if you get a trophy, okay, the trophy's empty.
Right. And that's the hard piece. Like, I think, who was it? Seth Godin that we had on the show that basically said, there's a dead end. No matter how much they're gonna run, but they're running in towards nothing. It's a cul-de-sac. But talk to me also. I mean, you have the fund, and on top of this, you also have one of your biggest ever last GrowthCon, which is a global phenomenon. I actually brought my team to it. I think you had Trump at some point. You had Arnold Schwarzenegger at some point last time. How did you build this to this size, and why is this the last one, you think?
So look, I've been going to events or hosting events or speaking at other people's events for 25 years. And what happened was somebody asked me to go do an event in Dallas. This is how shit happens to me. Most things come out of bad stuff for me. I go, this guy pays me a bunch of money to go speak at this gig. I fly in. I said, hey, what do you want me to talk about? Blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. He wanted me to talk about real estate. When I went in front of the room, I'm like, how many real estate investors here? And not one person raised their hand. I'm like, well, what do you guys do for a living? Entrepreneur, business owner, startup. I said, how many real estate investors here? Not one hand. And so in the moment, I called an audible and said, I'm going to switch from what this guy asked me to do and talk about being an entrepreneur. It was one of the best presentations I've ever done to an audience in my entire life. I walked away saying, damn, that was good. That was the best. And the guy that paid me dogged me and complained because I didn't talk about what he wanted me to talk about. I don't even remember his name anymore. If somebody told me what it is, I'd remember. Dallas, Texas. I don't know. There was 300 or 400 people there. It wasn't a big deal. I came back from that gig and told my guy, Jared, I'm done speaking to audiences. Okay. I will only do our own events. Okay. There's no amount of money that anybody can pay me that I'll go to their events. Now that is not true anymore. There is a number. Okay. Actually, we just got an offer today for a deal in that I'm like, yeah, I'll do that deal. And then we started the 10X Growth Conference. That was 10 years ago. It was in 2015. We did our first one. There was 20, 30, 40 people there. It was in Orlando, Florida. The second one was in Cabo. The third one was in Fort Lauderdale. And the fifth one was in Miami. It was 34,000 people there.
Incredible.
And that's the story of the 10X Growth Conference.
Right.
And this is our last one. This is our final. This is our 10 of 10, our anniversary, 10 years. And we're going to finish this one this year, and I'm going to take this and throw it away.
Why?
This part of my life will be over. So I can wait till it dies, or I can kill it myself.
Okay. So every end, I guess, is a new beginning. So what is the new beginning?
Well, a lot of very exciting things on the horizon, some of which I briefly, the California thing is real. I'm going back there to see if I can get 40 million people to save their state. And I think it's very, very important for America, all of America, not just California. There's probably going to be something happen in the public markets this year with our companies. That'll be interesting. Like a merger, some kind of acquisition, something big. And there could be two of those happen. There'll definitely be something happen on the health front.
Mm-hmm.
And what else could happen this year? There's going to be an interesting family office wealth concept, possibly event just for our partners. And I said this years ago, one day the 10X Growth Conference will not be a ticket you buy. It'll be an invitation only event.
Right.
And it'll be only to investors and partners. So that's some of the stuff on the horizon. Sure. My kids are 15 and 13, so they'll be transitioning into their full teenage years, and we'll support them and work through all that. The real estate Bitcoin fund, I think, is going to be one of the biggest things that I've done. I launched one. We're 95% closed. We're basically taking a piece of real estate that should produce a 10 or 12% return. And I think it'll produce a 40 or 50% return every year.
Incredible.
I'm combining basically a very volatile asset, Bitcoin, with a very stable one this is the Bitcoin over here, and the one's liquid, like the most liquid, with something that's not liquid at all. And I'm going to combine these, and we're going to create new products out of it. And I think this is the perfect timing for it, because you have Trump, you got Bessent at the Treasury, Howard Lutkin, Commerce Secretary, you got Atkins, the crypto czar, or the SEC, and you just got a lot of things that this could be a massive. I showed this to Tanner Fitzgerald a week ago up in New York City, and this is the first financial group I showed this to. And when I did, there's 12 guys in the room, and all their eyes popped out of their heads. They're literally like, how many of these can you do? How fast? So that could be, we could take those. I think I could get 10 of those done this year. It'll be about $1 billion worth of real estate and Bitcoin. And I think we can take that to the public markets and build something really big with it.
Amazing. So Grant, let's kind of
they're calling for me right now.
Yeah, go for it. So you
gotta take him away.
You have to take him away. Okay, advice to your younger self, and you'll go away.
Yeah. No, I tell you what, I would just give better advice to my 50-year-old self. If you're in transition right now, it's not too late, but you do need to change. You're not going to stop the aging process. It's happening. Your best photos will be taken today, not tomorrow. If you think you look bad today, you're going to look worse tomorrow. So grab as many photos as you can today. And it's not too late, dude. Like, we got the best stuff I've done in my life has been recently. And the last thing I would say to everybody is the biggest hack on this planet is to change the network you hang with.
Right.
It is the biggest, fastest, easiest hack on planet Earth. And the fastest way to change the network is to write a check and buy it. You literally buy the new network, okay? Everybody wants money. If you don't think they want money, like the moment you get to the audience that doesn't need money, bro, you're finally in the right audience.
Right. I love that, and I keep buying my way in. So thank you, Grant, for enabling that.
I appreciate you. I loved having you guys. By the way, I loved having you on the yacht last year. We're going to do another one of those this year, and I really, really, really appreciate you supporting us on the Grant Cardone Foundation.
Of course. Thank you, Grant, for everything you do.
Okay, thanks.
More episodes that you're going to love are right around the corner, so definitely make sure to click the like button and subscribe to our channel. Also, who in your life should see this today? Do share this with them. This will inspire and help those you care about and helps us continue to bring amazing guests. And I will see you there.